if you want something more, step 3 is for you. Smart clarification strategies. We always want to have some sort of strategies because it's not a perfect world that we can always use phrases for all kind of situations. So we adapt to strategies, we adapt to structures, okay? So we adapt to techniques. This is why communication is so interesting because there are so many strategies, so many techniques that we can learn. And this is what got me into this field, okay? So I said it in other class before that my strength, I've been teaching English for 13 years, and my strength is in communication. It's not about grammar. It's not about rules. It's not about vocabulary. It's how we say things to make you effective, okay? Effective, efficient are the two things that I need as a professional. And this is why I'm sharing my experiences with you. So step number 3. What are the things that we have to talk about? Let's talk about the consider message first. Your career is on the line, and this is your chance to sell yourself as the right person for the position. So asking clarification is not just something you should do, but something you need to do. Because you've gone so far, you're sitting in the interview room. Okay, you make sure that your resume was perfect, your cover letter was perfect, and then you got the opportunities to be in the interview room with your future boss. Clearly, you don't want to mess that up. So if you are asked a question that you really don't know how to answer, what would you do? Would you just go ahead and say that, okay, no, not for me. I'll just say whatever I want to say and get out of there. That's not something that you should do, okay? If you truly want that job, you have to make sure you get everything 100% right. So let's take a look at smart strategies to clarify. First, to take the responsibility. So this is a technique that we'll talk about to take that responsibility. So there are five strategies. And number 2 is start with clarifying question, okay? So another thing we do is that we can start with a question. Number 3 is gently ask for repeat. Gently, not just ask for repeat, but gently, politely ask for a repeat. And number 4 is self-clarification, okay? So you clarify yourself, okay? Self-clarification. And number 5, self-correction. Okay, so 5 strategies used for different situations. Okay, so let's take a look at what they are and how we can implement in job interviews. So to take responsibility, if you worry about asking someone to repeat something being very annoying, sometimes do. If you keep asking, it's really annoying. In the interview, instead you can blame yourself in this situation to avoid awkwardness. Okay, so you take that responsibility. You blame yourself. You don't blame the question. You don't blame the interviewer. Okay, you blame yourself. It's my fault. Okay, I'm too stupid to understand. But don't say that. Okay, don't say that. It's not a good sign in an interview. So you get a question. So tell me a time when things were not so great. Okay. So what? Tell me a time when things are not so great. What does he mean or what does she mean? Okay? What do they want to hear? So take the responsibility response. Okay, let's take a look. When someone asks you, tell me about a time when things were not so great, and you would say something like, oh yeah, I would love to tell you the time. I would love to. But before I ramble on about something completely off topic, would you like to hear about a specific project or something more general? Does not sound professional or what? I would love to. Okay, so first, you don't deny that you don't like mention anything that you don't understand. You say, I would love to, but before, so you start blaming yourself. before I ramble on about something completely off topic, would you want me to discuss this or would you want me to discuss that? You give them options, okay? Would you want me to talk about this? Would you want me to talk about that? Okay, so always give them two things to choose, okay? Would you want me to talk about A or would you want me to talk about B? But I think it's the first sentence that matters the most because it's like, I would love to, but before I start making mistakes and answering the wrong question, do you want to hear this or do you want to hear that? Okay, so you're giving them something that based on your understanding, but also you blame yourself, you take that responsibility, okay? So I don't want to say something wrong, okay? So I would love to share this with you, but before I ramble on, do you want to hear this or that? Okay. So smart strategy number 2, start with clarifying question, okay? So you start to clarify first. With a question. It is unprofessional and irresponsible to answer questions that you do not fully understand. It's very important. Unprofessional, irresponsible to answer questions you don't know how to answer. Okay? So something I learned in business world is that when you hear something, not just for interviews, but when you hear something that you don't know, you have to clarify on the spot. Don't leave it for later. Because it really hurts the productivities, okay? As a responsible and professional person like you have to clarify it. Instead of pretending that you know, you can clarify by adding questions to your response first, in the beginning, not at the end. Some people do it at the end, but the person already, the interviewer is sitting in front of you, listen to your whole answer, it could be wrong, but you already finished your wrong answer anyway. So, and then you ask, does that answer your question? No. Then you wasted like a 3-minute or 5 minutes of your time discussing something wrong. Okay, so clarify in the beginning with a question. So, question like this. Tell me a time when things were not so great. Same question. Start with clarifying question. Just so I'm answering the right question, would you like me to speak to a project I wish I had gone differently or just the general time when things at work weren't awesome? I'm happy to discuss either or either for some other countries, like in England say either. But anyway, so just so I am answering the right question, would you like me to speak a project I wish I had gone differently? Would you want me to talk about a specific project or just a general time when things at work weren't awesome? I'm happy to discuss both. Or I'm happy to discuss either, not both. Both means you need 2 stories. But I'm happy to discuss either. So you're clarifying with a question. Just so I'm answering the right question, would you want this or would you want that? Okay? Same thing, but different ways of phrasing it. It's also very powerful and also very important. I'm happy to discuss either. Okay, so it doesn't matter which one, because if you don't say this, okay, if you don't say the last sentence, the interviewer might be thinking, okay, is there something that you don't want to discuss? Okay, the reason why you're asking is would it be because that you are trying to hide something? Okay, so by adding that is to make sure that you are transparent, you're open about discuss anything they need to hear. Okay, next one, number 3, gently ask for repeat. Interviewees are often nervous about interrupting an interview to ask for clarification. It's natural. We don't really want to interrupt someone with the power to hire you, okay? Because we think it's rude, but it's not. Because you're a professional, it's your duty to ask for clarification. Asking politely and gently can be seen as both professional and well-mannered. Well-mannered is also a key in business because, in the beginning that we show some examples, say like, what do you mean? Okay, even when you say in the nicest tone, what do you mean? okay, it still doesn't have the same feeling, okay? So just to make sure that I can answer you correctly, do you mean this? Okay, this is well-mannered and professional, okay? So well-mannered is a key. Ask gently because you want to present yourself as professional and with that extra politeness. Question, same question, tell me a time when things were not so great. So be gentle and ask to repeat. So you get a response like this. I'm so sorry, but just so I can understand the question fully, could you repeat that? Okay, so when I say repeat, that means that you are confident that you can understand what they're asking. Okay, so then you say that, I'm so sorry, just so I can fully understand the question. Could you repeat that, please? Instead of just saying, I'm so sorry, could you say that again? I'm so sorry, could you repeat that? But because you have something different in mind, what's that something? Your responsibility to answer, to understand the question fully. Okay, this is your responsibility. So you are professional by adding this sentence. I mean, when you take this sentence out, it doesn't change the meaning of the sentence, but it just doesn't show that you have that manner. Okay, so because you demonstrate that my duty is to understand your question correctly so I can answer your question correctly. So could you repeat that again, please? Okay, so this is gently ask for repeat. And next one, self-clarification. Okay, so sometimes it's not the question anymore. Okay, so it's not the question that needs to be clarified, but your own response. Okay, so it's like when you give some kind of response and you feel like, oh, there's a chance that the interviewer may not understand what I'm talking about. So I have to clarify that. So when you notice your answer aren't easily comprehensible, understandable, you need to act quickly and clarify. So you have to take action before they ask. If you know, maybe there's something that's not so easy to understand. So question, okay, I changed question just to fit the context. How do you handle criticism? Okay, say if your supervisor says something bad, not about you, but about the project, about your performance, that's criticism. So how do you handle criticism? So this is a simple response. I think I handle criticism positively. Not very clear, right? I handle positively. In other words, okay, so this is like a self-clarification. You want to clarify deeper. I welcome constructive criticism and seek guidance from my colleague whenever possible. So you welcome constructive criticism. Constructive criticism is the key. So I handle criticism positively. But not just criticism in general, but constructive criticism because it helps me grow. So I seek guidance from my colleague whenever possible. Okay, so you are very clear on handling self-clarification. Because if I stop my sentence right here, okay, I think I handle criticism positively. Okay, could you give me more examples? Could you go further on demonstrating what you mean by positively? Okay, so to avoid that from happening, you said in other words, so you go on with your self-clarification. So this is very important. Sometimes when you do feel like your answer is not clear enough, then you provide self-clarification. Next one, last one, self-correction. Okay, so this is also about your own response now, not the question, but your own response. So we all make mistakes, especially in high-stress interview situations. So don't panic and correct yourself gracefully with a style, okay, like a James Bond. Always very calm, okay, in control. And in a calmly manner, it can demonstrate your ability to communicate under pressure. So it's very important that even if you make a mistake, you can self-correct in the situation, okay? So you don't want to, just let it go. Because when you let it go and the interviewer picked up that mistake, they will think that maybe you're just not knowledgeable enough, you're not professional enough in the industry or in the field. So you have to act really quickly on correcting yourself. So the question is this. Tell me about one of your greatest achievements, okay? So your response. I have several examples, but I could talk about a project I was involved in ABC company. No, I apologize. Okay, it was with EFG company. So you correct yourself. No, I apologize. That's wrong, and that's the wrong company. Okay, it was with EFG company. Okay, so very simple, but do self-correct before anything, before that's too late. This is what I'm saying. Okay, so you have 5 different strategies that you can use, and 2 of them involves your own response. Okay, so you can self-clarify. Okay, when you feel like your answer is not clear enough, and you can self-correct. And because when you give out the wrong answer, you have to take a step back and say, "I'm sorry, that's the wrong information." Okay, so very, very simple 5 strategies that we use to clarify in situations such as job interviews, but we can also use that in other situations as well.